Finally, the time has come for me to review MindMed's 2020 financials. I've been waiting for months. I got the recommendation in December 2020, but I didn't want to review their September results with the full year financials just around the corner, so I waited. I didn't expect them to take 90 days. Anyway, the time has come. I'll be reviewing their MD&A financial statements. I'll give you my opinion and what I'm going to do. A brief breakdown of the company and what they do. MindMed is a psychedelic medicine company seeking to discover, develop, and deploy psychedelic medicines and therapies to address addiction and mental illness. The company is experimenting with psilocybin, LSD, MDMA, DMT, and an ibogaine derivative. I love the idea and what they're trying to do in the future. They're trying to use hallucinogenic and non-hallucinogenic treatments for addiction, PTSD, and other mental illnesses. I'll tell you right from the beginning, I can almost guarantee that psychedelics will be legalized in the future and they will be considered medicine and part of therapy for mental illness. However, what I can't guarantee is that MindMed will be the company to take you along for the ride. This stock or other psychedelic stocks are probably one of the riskiest investments you can make. How do I know this, or why do I say this? Well, if we just read the list of risk factors in the MD&A, we can get a better picture. The entire document is 50 pages and the risks start on page 26 and they end on page 49. Almost half the entire document is just listing the risk factors of investing in this company. The company expects to incur future losses and may never become profitable. The company cannot predict when it will become profitable. The losses will be substantial. If you've watched a few of my company reviews, you'll know I don't care too much about profits due to funky accounting rules. I care more about cash flow. Well, this part stresses me out. Negative operating cash flow. The company's normal operations don't produce cash. They're hemorrhaging cash every month. There is no assurance sufficient revenues will be generated in the near future. The company will require additional capital to finance operations, which may or may not be available. To be honest, this is standard for new companies, so I'm okay with this. The last item, the company currently has no product revenue. They're still going through clinical trials to get approved. I get that, but this is important. The company cannot predict when and if it will ever generate product revenue. I hope that's enough to let you know how risky this is. Again, I'll reiterate what I just said. I can almost guarantee that psychedelics or mushrooms will be used to treat ADHD and PhD. However, I can't guarantee that MindMed will be around long enough for you to experience some gains or join along for the ride. I'm going to quickly go through their financial statements, starting with the balance sheet, but I'll warn you now, there's not much to look at. This is the smallest and easiest balance sheet I've ever looked at. I don't really know what to say. Okay, so 80 million in cash on hand. That's great. They'll need the cash to fund their operations since they don't have any products to sell. 4.6 million in tangible assets. These are hopefully part of the company's money makers in the future. This is all patents and R&D that they're spending their money on. They have 2.3 million in liabilities, which is hilarious. It's so low. I was expecting way more debt on their balance sheet. There's no point in running any ratios like current ratio on this company. It's just not relevant right now. Usually when looking at a balance sheet, you want to see if their debt levels are good. Are assets higher than liabilities? Are their current assets or their liquid assets high enough to fund any accounts payable or any loans due on demand? But that's just non-existent here. Moving on to the income statement or their loss statement, I reviewed many companies running a loss, but I've never reviewed a company without a revenue line on their income statement. They literally have no products, no inventory, no revenue at all. MindMed for the entire 2020 financial year has a $35 million loss. We knew they'd have a loss. That's fine for now. They're spending mostly on their R&D, which is great. This is where they'll be spending most of their cash in the next few years. Their G&A, which is mainly salaries, is super high. But to be honest, there's not much to break down here. There are no revenues. I can't even tell you if it's trending well or if it's trending poorly. Let's look at the cash flow statement. This is a make or break for the company. Obviously, if they operate long enough, I'm sure all the R&D will accumulate to a breakthrough. The issue is, do they have enough cash to sustain them until everything will be legalized or they find legit medicine? MindMed is using $24 million in cash to run their operations per year. I'm expecting this number to go up for 2021. Obviously, the company won't be getting any loans from banks or anyone else since they don't generate cash. The only way for the company to sustain themselves is to issue shares. Shareholders should expect their ownership to be diluted every year, every time the company needs to raise capital. I'll use a hypothetical situation. The company has $80 million in cash and they're burning through $25 million a year. That means if they never get financing or can't issue shares anymore, they have 3 years to live. I'll make this a little different. Since I expect them to ramp up their R&D, I'll say this company will have 2 years to live before they run out of cash, assuming they never get financing again, which I don't think to be the case. I'm sure a lot of investors, a lot of banks, or maybe even the shareholders will provide them with financing. I don't think this company will be a going concern within 2 or 3 years, but let's say 5 years or 6 years, if they don't get a breakthrough, if nothing gets legalized, this might be an issue 5 or 6 years from now. I'm going to backtrack a little. I'm kind of wondering why their G&A is so high. I was expecting it would be all salaries because I'm guessing scientists are expensive, but they're spending $2.3 million on marketing and IR. You don't even have a product yet, so why are you spending on marketing? What exactly are you marketing? Are they just taking out bankers or investors to dinner to try to get more financing? I would expect a company to spend, $2.3 million on marketing if they have a product, but there are no products yet. I wish there was a little more insight into this. I looked through their MD&A and their financial statement notes, and there's just no insight on what this $2.3 million on marketing and investor relations is actually being spent on, or what's the purpose. So here's where I tell you what I've done. Even though this is a risky investment, probably one of the worst investments you can make, I did buy 500 shares of MindMed at around $4. Right now it's like $3.80 or $3.70, so I am at an unrealized loss for now. So if you're into day trading the stock, I'm not too good at day trading, but I do like looking at charts and trends and finding the support and resistance. It looks like the company is using the $2.80 mark as support, and if we break through the $4.75 resistance, we might be going somewhere. I actually wish there was more to say about the company. Reading through their MD&A, they have 6 projects on the go with a couple interesting names. Some of them are trying to treat cluster headaches, which I've actually never heard of before, but they seem pretty serious. So I do actually hope that they do find a breakthrough. I do hope we do find new medicine and new ways to treat mental illness. I'll probably revisit this company in about 6 months. I'll take a look at their Q2 financials and maybe their year end, so I can see how the company is trending. I know they only went public last year. Let me know if you've invested in MindMed, at what price, why'd you invest in it, if you invested in any other psychedelic stocks as well. Leave a recommendation on any other stocks you'd like me to break down or review, and hopefully I can get to it. So until then, thanks guys.